Hey y'all, it is Wednesday. That means a brand new episode of What If dropped this morning, and this episode is my favorite by far, and it's gonna be a tough one to top. So this episode is titled What If Zombies, which I think is the funniest title because we all knew there was gonna be a zombie episode like ever since this show was announced. We were like, oh, what if the Avengers were zombies or something? Like that's been a thing for a while, but I think just calling it that kind of gives you no context. Some of the promos for the episode, including the ones that are usually posted by Marvel and the What If Instagram account that have the timeline branches from Loki on the TV. So this said, when Bruce Banner comes back to Earth from Asgard, he discovers that the Avengers, at least some of them, have been turned into zombies. There's been a zombie outbreak. I love this episode because of where it picks up, which is right at the start of Infinity War, but it really centers around the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I have always sort of felt like, although being an emotional heart and introducing kind of more depth to the quantum realm within the MCU, I feel like that story, especially in the time when it was released between Infinity War and Endgame, feels slightly out of place, especially with Ant-Man films being specifically more comedic at a time when the MCU was kind of at its darkest and the stakes were at the highest. However, I do like this exploration in this series of kind of each of the Avengers' potential flaws and how a lot of those kind of lead to some of the what if catastrophe events that kind of end up changing the timeline. And this one, of course, being Hope feeling like her priority of bringing her mother back and reuniting her family kind of outweighed the potential risk it could have for humanity. Now, obviously, this is an alternate timeline. I'm not trying to like rag on Hope. I thought she was great in this episode. So I like this kind of reprioritization of her in these events. Let's just get to what we really want to talk about, which is the zombies. Getting to see each of kind of the OG Avengers as well as T'Challa, which we don't see as a zombie because obviously he doesn't get turned into one, but getting to see all the Avengers retain their powers as zombies. I thought that was great because usually in an Avengers level type situation, zombies would kind of just be like the pawns of whatever big bad they're actually fighting and would be pretty easy to defeat. However, the fact that one half of the Avengers is fighting the other half of the Avengers who have still been able to retain their powers, such as Iron Man's suit or Cap throwing the shield, that makes it much harder of a risk because it's like fighting your undead friends. I also felt like this episode, because of the zombie element and pairing up very intelligently the living characters with the dead Avengers and kind of having them have to go head to head, specifically Bucky going head to head with both Sam and Steve. I thought that was brilliant. I also really loved kind of like the violent aspect of this episode. Like when Okoye kind of shreds Sam in half, like holy crap, like that was insane. And I think getting to see that in a very graphic novel comic book type format is why they're able to get away with it a little bit more. But I just love it because this series really, and I keep saying it, but it toes the line so well of the family-friendly Marvel aspect with action sequences. And I think that's a way they've been able to make the battles have elevated stakes, is getting to do a little bit more graphic of kills or takedowns of the bad guys. Since it's in the animated format, they're able to show a little bit more than they could in live action because it would have to then look realistic, which would then be gorier and so on and so forth. I also, and this kind of just goes without saying, this whole series, the fanfare. The assembling of the Living Avengers team is just brilliant to me because you bring in Spider-Man with Okoye, with Bucky, with Sharon Carter, with Hope Van Dyne, Bruce Banner, kind of these characters who have never gotten to interact before are now like here together solving things. Scott Lang being thrown in there, Vision later in the episode. It was just really smart to me to bring all these characters together and give fans the ability to see the characters. Like, who would have thought you'd bring in Happy Hogan? I think that's just so smart because he's obviously like there and aware of what's going on, but then getting to see each one of these characters we know and love get kind of turned into zombies slowly made the stakes really high, and I really enjoyed that for this episode. Obviously, the Spider-Man stuff, because I've been on a Spider-Man kick lately, really just got to me. The fact that the MCU continues to remind us that Spider-Man really is just a kid. He's just a teenage boy. Each time he makes those homemade videos, instructional things, or kind of like his vlogs of being an Avenger, because like as a kid, like obviously even though he knows and is responsible enough to not tell very many people about him being Spider-Man, he has to like retain a little bit of that for himself, which is just so adorable to me. And using like the fridge magnets to spell out like surviving the zombie apocalypse is just hysterical. I felt like that really connected it to live action Spider-Man and the way that we know him in the Sacred Timeline live action version of the MCU. There was also our first reference that I can remember to Uncle Ben within the MCU canon. Then of course we have the great news that Wanda and Vision's love spans reality timelines, and I thought this was such a clever reversal of drawing innocent people into a situation so that you can keep your loved one alive. Wanda did it in WandaVision with the Hex. Now Vision is doing it with drawing in the rest of the Avengers to keep Wanda alive because he can't imagine a world without her. And I just think that's such like a Shakespearean Romeo and Juliet type love that they have, that it's like it's always ongoing, but they just have new challenges and different realities. I thought that was just really brilliant to have Vision be the one to do something questionable out of love. Lastly, just because I would be an idiot to not bring it up, Scott Lang. Can we get a slow round of applause for him? This man is one of the funniest characters in the entirety of the MCU. He's just a head, and Paul Rudd gives the character so much life. All of his lines were the best in the episode, just like hands down. Thank you, Marvel, for including Scott Lang in the What If universe, because I needed that today. I really did. That, guys, is going to be the end of this review. I'm sorry, I'm super tired from staying up last night to watch Impeachment. Feel free to go check out my review of that episode. Please let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this episode of What If. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss these videos or any of my other videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have an absolutely amazing day or night whenever you're getting to watch this, and I will see you in my very next video. Bye, y'all.